There's so many people that don't understand this.
Helping someone get a permanent resident to Australia, that's life-changing.
To stay in Australia before you are a PR costs a fortune.
That's all they talked about when they were young. It was just like, this person's got a property, that person's got a property.
They essentially sacrifice their own life for a better life for the kids.
You've got to do whatever it takes. No one can really help you. Only you can save yourself.
Traci, Chen.
Hello.
Flamingo Property Investing. Welcome to Sydney.
Thank you.
You brought the weather with you, which is nice.
I know. Tell me about it. It was crazy this morning.
Thank you for coming to Sydney. We don't see you much down here.
No, I come up every now and then.
I
but
usually see you at the Kalal only. That's it.
Yes, at the Kalal.
Now, most people, if they don't know your name, would have seen your face on either Instagram or TikTok because I'm Australian. I grew up in Australia. I'm not an immigrant, but your content still gets me constantly.
Is it? Okay.
100%.
Okay.
You know, I know everything about a 467 visa.
467. Pretty close.
Is that even a visa? It's not, is it?
But you're close.
So you have a big brand online in the immigration space, which is very niche, and you're doing very well.
Oh, thank you.
Which is it's super inspiring. But what we're going to cover off in this podcast is not how well you're doing right now, but it's all the stuff that you did to get from being an immigrant yourself and then growing your I guess, personal attributes and then starting the business and getting to where you are right now. Because you told me before the podcast, which I didn't know, that the content that I guess got you interested in me outside of the property stuff was the personal mindset and the growth and all the rest of it. So give us your backstory because you weren't always the Traci Chen from TikTok.
No, of course not. So we came to Australia when I was 2 years old.
Right,
so first
from where?
generation from China, from Guangzhou. Came here with my mum. My dad had already come 1 year prior. And it was really tough then. That was when a lot of Chinese students actually came to Australia.
Right.
So did it really tough.
Is this in the 90s?
So my dad came in 1989 and I came in 1992.
Right.
So just after my mum fell pregnant, my dad had to come to Australia. And so I didn't meet my dad till I was 2.
Right.
Yeah. And then we migrated to Adelaide first. Do you guys know where that is? Yeah.
Where is Adelaide? You mean Adelaide Street in like Bondi or something?
Adelaide, South Australia, Adelaide, and grew up there.
Right.
Did primary school, high school, and university there.
Why Adelaide? Why did your parents choose Adelaide over?
I think my dad got a scholarship there. So he's a PhD. He's got a PhD in organic chemistry. And I think
organic chemistry?
I know.
What is that?
I don't know. I actually don't know. But I know that he worked with a lot of the feeding stuff for sheep and lamb.
Oh, so it's in like the agricultural business?
Yes, in agriculture.
There we go.
Yeah, so he developed a lot of that stuff. Yeah, so I didn't understand all of it and he didn't try to explain a lot of it to me. And so it was only recently that I knew his PhD was actually in organic chemistry. I just knew he had a PhD and he was really smart, but that's about all I knew.
So your dad's a doctor?
That kind of doctor, PhD doctor.
Yeah.
So then after that, I went to high school, did university, studied law. I think that was the one that I found most interesting. So continued that and then fell into immigration law, which I loved, I understood.
Right.
And because I'm an immigrant myself. And I just found that...
So did you have an interest in law off the back of school?
Yes, I had an interest in law. Yep.
And coming from a Chinese family, education, I'm assuming, is very important.
Yes,
because
exactly.
Every Chinese person I know is obsessed with education.
Just education and everything that comes with it.
Why is that? Like, why is that so important in Chinese culture?
Yeah, I think to them, I've seen a comedy show about this. It's the way to fix the, what do you call it? Go from first generation immigrants to having money.
Right.
They think if you're a
way
lawyer,
to get out of poverty, essentially.
Yeah. They think if you're a lawyer or a doctor, we're out of poverty. You're changing the entire fortune of the family. So that's kind of how it was.
And like it's the same as Indian culture, right? Like you see it all the time. I mean, Australia's prevalent. All of the people that top, the HSC and the scores of the HSC are generally immigrants.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's because they probably take education more serious than...
That's right. And with my husband, my parents are probably a little bit less of that, but with him, he said all he knew growing up was to become a doctor. He actually didn't know anything else. Like there was once he told me...
So he's like, everyone should be a doctor.
Yeah, that's all he knew. There was once where he got into a fight at school. And then the first thing he thought was like, oh no, I'm not going to make it into medical school. And he was like 12 at the time.
And he's also Chinese, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's Chinese, yeah. And so it's really interesting that that's all they kind of drill into you when you're a child. So, yeah.
And, I mean, the upbringing of a Chinese family, I'm assuming like very strict, right? Like it's not like, oh, don't worry about studying, go out and play with your friends, or
No.
like back chatting to your parents, or like not having respect to you. That doesn't happen, right?
No, that's right. And one thing that I definitely want for my children is we weren't into sports, so sports is not a thing. Well, they'll let us play a musical instrument, like you learn the violin or the piano, but like sports is not a thing. But I think sports is so important, you know.
In Australian culture, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Probably not so much in Chinese culture.
No, it wasn't a thing. We never learned it.
What is the biggest sport in China?
Diving. Because it's something that we are good at. Sorry. Ping pong, table tennis and diving.
Right.
But we always take out all the medals at the Olympics.
In ping pong?
Yeah, ping pong and diving.
Yeah, right.
We usually take all of them home. Yes.
Right. So you come from an immigrant family. Went to school, studied hard, like most Chinese people do, and then you either had a choice to become a doctor, a lawyer. What else could you become? An accountant?
A dentist.
A dentist? Accountant? Was that on the? Is that on the?
Yeah, probably it was on there. Yeah. But for me, I was just kind of like, all right. Out of all of them, I probably thought law was the most interesting. Right. I don't know about you, but I don't like blood and all that stuff, or gore, and can't handle it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not smart enough to know that stuff, so you see, it wasn't even on my Richter scale. So you went and studied law. At university? In Sydney or
in Adelaide?
Adelaide. So you stayed in Adelaide?
Flinders University.
Right. What was university life like?
You know, for me, my entrepreneur journey started quite early.
Right.
So I was busy hustling during uni. I went to uni, did what I need to do, but I started a business very early on then.
What was it?
Solar panels.
Selling solar.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
so
selling solar panels.
Run me through that.
So I set up a business where we went, because, solar was booming back then. This would have been 2013, 2012, around there.
When all the incentives and stuff were in,
correct. So I'd go out to households. And then if they needed solar panels, we get them fitted.
Yeah, but how do you start? So you're at uni. You don't just one day go, I'm going to sell something. Let's go and sell solar panels. Like, how did that actually unfold?
Oh, I think I met people in the trade.
Right.
And then I had a friend doing it. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I just teed them all together. And a lot of the importers were Chinese too.
Right.
So it was easy for me to get in contact with them, understand what they do, and then create as a product. And then sell to households.
So you were like door-to-door sales?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and then we did a lot of word of mouth, and then we had set up some those booths in the shopping centre.
Right. So people would walk past and be like, hey, you look like someone who has a house and you need solar on that house.
Absolutely. And at that time, people came to you because it was so cheap to do solar panels. It was so worth it.
And you could finance it, right? There was lots of financing options and stuff?
Didn't need finance because back then it was I think after all the incentives and stuff, I think out of pocket was $4 or $5 grand.
Ah, right. The government covered the majority of it.
Yeah. I don't know how much it is these days. But
it's not cheap.
Yeah, okay. Because back then, and then you get money back for selling it. So basically, after you pay the $4 or $5 grand after the incentives, you still get money back. So you should pay off your solar panel.
And where did the interest in business come from? Because most lawyers are not business people. I have lots of lawyer friends. They work for themselves, but they would know nothing about business or scaling a business or hiring people. Like most people are just exceptional at the craft, and they might have they called associates,
Yes.
1 or 2 associates and that's it.
I actually don't know where it came from because my parents most definitely are not business. They definitely were, work, save your money, and then, maybe you'll buy a house and then you pay off that house and then, that's a very big achievement to them. For me, I don't know where that came from. I guess I hung around, people in business and I thought this is kind of cool and just. But
Adelaide's also it's a city, but it's like a country town city, It's very pretty. I like Adelaide. But I'm assuming there's not a massive business community there, right?
No. But some really famous people did come from Adelaide, in business.
Who?
Vin Yang. Yeah, you know who he is?
I don't know who he is. Okay, right. Who is he?
He's a motivational speaker.
He's not the guy who teaches people how to be eloquent?
Yeah, that guy.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, I do know him.
Yeah, exactly. He was just on Diary of a CEO. He is from Adelaide.
Dead set. Yeah. I didn't even know he was Australian.
Yeah, he's Australian. Can you believe it?
He doesn't sound Australian now, though.
Nah, maybe not. He spent a lot of time
in the US or something.
But back in the days, he used to do magic tricks at shows. And I remember attending some charity shows and stuff, and he was doing the magic tricks and performing. Interesting.
There you go. So the two famous people to come out of Adelaide are Traci, Chen and Vincent Yang. Is it?
Oh, there you go. I'll take that. I'll take that.
So you were doing law, studying law, which is a full-time thing just in itself. You're selling solar panels, and then did you ever like have this decision where you're like, hey, should I continue with law, or I'm making so much cash selling solar panels, maybe I should just stay selling solar panels?
Well, yeah, I had to make that decision,
right?
And I did because things were slowing down with solar panels anyway, and it was a good time. And then I just finished my law degree as well, so I thought, okay, cool, let's go learn in a law firm and go work in a law firm and figure out how to do all of this.
Right.
And so that's when I kind of like slowed that down and just went full-time into
And you
law.
stayed in Adelaide still?
Stayed in Adelaide, yeah, for the first couple of years.
Right.
And then I relocated to Melbourne.
Right.
And
for what reason?
For more opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, definitely more opportunity. And that's when I started working for myself then. Hadn't built my brand currently now yet, but I started working for myself. And so that was a couple of years then. And then...
So you worked inside of an organisation for what, 3 or 4 years?
2 years.
2 years?
Yep.
So like not very long?
No, not very long, no.
And was the plan always when you went into your first job to then start your own business? Were you like, I don't want to do this very long for someone else?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that was always the plan. I always thought, maybe I'll find a really good job. Maybe I'll do something and then maybe I'll make partner one day.
Because that's like a lot of, like if you're a lawyer or an accountant or anything like that, you generally want to get into a big prestigious firm and then work your way up the corporate ladder and then become a partner of that firm.
Exactly.
Right? It's not common to start. You want to start your own.
No,
unless you're in like the commercial space, like the commercial legal space, something like that.
Maybe. And then what happened is towards the end, I got a job at a global immigration firm. And this was probably beginning of 2020. I got a job at a global immigration firm. I was like, okay, cool. I want to learn everything. We had really big clients. And like, this is really exciting. Obviously, COVID hit. So immigration stopped. Like overnight, all the people they were about to bring in, they like straight away like stopped all their processes. All these people, I think they rescinded their job offers and everything. So I was actually let go. Yeah, from that role. So I went from that, and then I was like, cool, I want to start this new role, and then I was actually let go. I think it would have been April
of 2019, 2020. Right. So not that long ago.
No, not that long ago. And then I did start working at another law firm, but it was like part time. And because they didn't have much work for me, they're like, okay, cool, come in and, start your own immigration and bring your own clients. I was like, okay, what do I do? And that was when everything was, kind of growing on TikTok. I was like, okay, I want to go onto TikTok and I'm going to, make videos. And then that kind of blew up.
Right.
Yeah. Because everyone's like, immigration is stopped now. How are you going to, there's no clients and all that stuff. But there was like 2 million people stuck in Australia. And they didn't want to leave. Right. Or they didn't know what their future holds. So there was 2 million people here. And a lot
potential
of people,
customers.
Yeah, they didn't know that. I mean, a lot of the other businesses, they were letting people go. The businesses were, completely downsizing. They didn't know about this.
And a lot of people were going home back to their countries, right? Because I remember the big story, like during the whole COVID period, was like, there's no staff, we can't get people in hospitality.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, that's right. But people also, because there weren't people coming in.
They weren't coming in, right?
Yeah,
but there was people in the country that weren't allowed to leave, who were maybe here like on a holiday visa or something like that.
Or student visa.
Right.
Yeah, all of those, or some of the temporary visas, and they lost their job. I think it was after everything kind of cleared up with COVID that they couldn't find people again because they weren't letting people in. So I think that's kind of what happened. And then that's when, after a while, it was like things were kind of, blowing up, and then I was like, okay, cool, it's time to start my own law firm. Right.
But how do you go and just think, I'm going to do TikTok videos now? Like, there's lots of people don't just go, hey, I'm going to do TikTok videos now, right?
Yeah. There's a bit of a backstory behind that.
Tell me the backstory.
Okay, so you're going to be like, what the? Okay, so what happened there was, at that time, obviously COVID. Yeah. My husband couldn't get medical scrubs. Right. Okay, and I was like, okay, cool. You can't get medical scrubs. It was just sold out all the places because they had to start wearing medical scrubs because of COVID. They wanted to have settled clothes just for, that.
And what does your husband do?
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor?
Yeah.
Right.
So then I imported scrubs to sell. That's what I did. And I was like, how am I going to...
From TikTok?
And I imported them from wherever, but then I was kind of like, how do I market this? And I was like, okay, I'm going to market this on TikTok. But obviously that stuff was going to take time to come to Australia. I ordered it. It was going to probably maybe 1 or 2 months away. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make the TikToks to market these scrubs, right? And then I'm like, but I don't have a product right now. And I watched some videos and it says when you practice TikTok, you got to talk about something you know about. Yeah. I was like, well, I know about migration law. So actually it was complete by accident. Like I just started the TikTok to practice the TikToks for the scrub business. And so when the scrubs landed, I was like 30,000 followers already deep in TikTok on my immigration channel.
And then all of a sudden you're just going to be like, hey, guess what, immigration people? I'm not here for immigration. I'm going to sell you scrubs.
Yeah.
Did you ever sell the scrubs?
We did, well, on a different channel, but later on, we continued that business for a little bit, but then obviously things got really busy with immigration business.
That's
so it's funny.
So the reason that you started doing immigration TikTok is because you wanted to sell something else and you wanted to practice live and put content out there to get active feedback.
Yeah, that's right.
How come Chinese people don't really care about what other people think about them?
Do you reckon?
The perception I have is like Chinese people care less about what other people think versus a normal Australian.
Right, okay, interesting.
You don't feel that?
I don't know. But with the TikTok back then, none of your friends are on TikTok. All your friends are on Instagram and Facebook, right? So you're on TikTok, it's completely different, followers and people on there. So your friends never knew about you.
So that's why you did that. Is you're like, no one I know will be on here anyway.
100%.
It's only kids dancing.
100%.
Remember that was like the thing that everyone used to say, what are you on TikTok for?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just dancing. Oh my gosh, the dancing videos, yes.
Your dancing video at your wedding was exceptional.
Yeah, thank you.
That was very good. Yes. Do you think that's a thing though? Because you go to Sydney CBD, for example, and there is constantly Chinese people filming themselves, wearing wacky shit. Where you never see, very rarely do you see that with a normal Westerner.
Right.
Because I don't know, I just feel like we have this perception of what happens if that person thinks that or says that or whatever.
But maybe they're the same here because they film their stuff. They're probably putting it on Redbook, which is very big.
I'm on Redbook.
Are you? Okay.
Stacey manages my Redbook.
Okay, all right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. So Redbook is big. So I think they're posting on Redbook. And again, Redbook Australia, nobody back home knows them. So they're probably YOLO, let's just post.
It's so interesting.
I think that must be the case. I don't know. I haven't been back to China for a while, so I don't know whether they care what people think about them. But yeah,
right.
I'm not sure.
But it's not in the culture, do you reckon Chinese people are judgmental?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah, probably.
Because they love brands as well. Chinese people love brands and the perception.
Love it. And they're decked out, I follow them for fashion.
Are you into brands?
Not anymore. I used to be.
Right.
You used to chase that stuff.
Isn't it funny when you get that stuff, you're like, oh, it's not that exciting anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, correct. I don't know. And then, I don't know, have you seen the whole Labubu?
This is the whole thing around you can buy a
little toy.
No. I thought you meant the Chinese TikToks that I'm seeing recently with hey, if you want to buy an Hermes bag, don't pay $60,000.
Oh, you've seen that one? Okay. Have you seen the little toy, the one with the ears?
What is this?
You've not seen the Labubus?
I haven't.
Okay. Have you heard of Labubus?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Tell me what these things are.
There's a little rabbit toy
right.
that's got 9 teeth and it looks very weird, and it's just completely blown up on social media. And so people are
here as well.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And people are queuing up at 4 a.m. at Pop Mart to buy these things. Yeah.
And what are they?
They're toys. But I think that's the part of it.
What do they do?
Nothing.
Can I store in Town Hall just for these toys?
Is there
Let
really?
me show you a picture of a Labubu. How can you not have heard of a Labubu? It makes no sense.
Well, generally all I see on my Instagram and TikTok is either your face. I've never seen that before.
He's never seen a Labubu.
I haven't seen that. There you go. And that blew up just because of TikTok?
A bit of that, a bit of the couple of famous people had it on there, but it's there's a couple of elements to one. You don't know what you're getting because it's a blind box.
Ah, right.
So you open it up.
So
and
there's the intrigue.
Yes,
right?
that, and then you don't know when they're dropping as well.
As in coming out.
Yeah, correct. So they'll be okay, we're doing a drop, this week, and then people will queue up at 4 a.m.
There you go.
And people are if you have it in your car, people are breaking into the cars and things like that.
So are they expensive?
No, look, they're not.
How many Labubus have you got?
No, that's hard to get. They're hard to get. I've got a few, but they're about $40, I think. $40.
So they're not it's not a designer item.
No. No, but it's become a designer item. People are hanging them off their ears. Yeah. Right. Yes, exactly. That's what I was getting to. So Chinese people love Labubus.
Because it's a status symbol. If you have a Labubu, it's you are of a certain status because you got access to it.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. So you love growth mindset. You're always thinking big. Every time we've caught up and spoken about business, it's always about how do I grow the business? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Where did that come from? Because again, it doesn't sound like you grew up in that. Obviously you probably had high expectations. Your parents had high expectations of you.
Yeah.
Where did the business growth mindset come from?
I think when you get involved in business, and I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but every time you achieve to a certain milestone, I think you're kind of oh, I can do it. So you just keep growing. And then you obviously have all these people on this journey with you. And so you're kind of well, there's so much that we can do together. So I see my team, I see what we have, and I'm just kind of like, well, let's keep going. And all the people that we can help, all the lives that we can change, because we do a lot, in terms of helping someone, get a permanent resident to Australia. That's life-changing.
And it's a big fucking job. I've got multiple people who work with us, of which you've spoken with some of them. Like, it's hard.
It's hard.
All these people, with this election that's just happened, you see it, why are we letting all these immigrants into the country, blah, 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 blah. But, like, to get into the country, to stay in Australia before you are a PR, costs a fortune.
Yes, and there's a lot.
And there's involved. A lot of hoops you got to jump through. There's a lot of things that you have to do. Like, it's not an easy task.
No.
And it's life-changing, right? Because if you're coming from, I'm assuming most of these people are not coming from, like, the lavish lifestyles of, India and China and Pakistan and all these places. Like, they're coming from poverty, most of them, right?
Yeah, correct. Well, maybe just, medium household, I'd say.
Just above.
Yeah, just above the medium household. But they're obviously wanting a better life, and Australia affords those opportunities. So for them, it's a big thing. So a lot of the times when our clients do get permanent residency, when we call them, they can't breathe. They're crying. They're like, I had one, so a client called, and then she hung up on me, and then she called me back. She goes, okay, I'm back. She just couldn't handle it. It was too much for her to handle.
And did your passion for immigration come from you being an immigrant yourself and your family immigrating, or was it just a natural progression? That's what you enjoyed more than doing the other sectors of law?
A bit of both,
right.
But now immigrating is very different and it's much harder, but I know what it means, because a lot of the times my parents are very educated, and in China they probably would have stayed in China and got a really good job and done really well, but came here and they really essentially became labourers. But to them, they still think it was the right decision. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you mean labourers? Like?
Not labourers, but my mum, for example, she worked in a supermarket for the 20 years. That's it.
Right. Yeah. When in China she was...
she was working office, and she probably would have made her way up.
In the corporate ladder, essentially.
Yeah, correct. And my dad was already, had a very high position in China.
Right.
He got a scholarship here to do his PhD, and he was already, he was getting the awards for first in the university or something back then. He would have definitely done really well, whether it was through teaching or whatever. And all his friends ended up doing really well, the ones that stayed there.
Right.
However, he's come to Australia and he just worked in a factory for 20 years. Which is the case for a lot of people.
Hey?
Yeah, it's a lot of case for a lot of people who came in that generation, because their English was not that good. His English is fine. They can converse with people, but it's not good enough to kind of maybe win in, a lot of the interviews and things like that. And maybe they didn't have that much courage. So for them, they'll kind of like try it a little bit, then they're kind of like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. And they're just like, all right, let's just make sure we raise our children well. And then they just did their labor.
They essentially sacrificed their own life for a better life for the kids.
Yes, that's right.
Why do people immigrate to Australia versus staying in their own country? Like, if you could have had a really good life in China, why was it more important, say, for your parents to come here, and a better decision from what you said?
Well, for them back then, like during that time frame, it wasn't like that. Like they thought China was going downhill, a lot of the people, so that's why a lot of them wanted to move.
Right.
Yeah, back then it wasn't like that. It was only like maybe in the early 2000s where China started booming, and there's still a lot of people today who came in that generation who regret it, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. They regret it, but they didn't see the bigger picture. They don't live the life here in Australia. And for us, I have a little sister, and so that
didn't know that.
Yeah, I have a little sister. Yeah. And so again, we wouldn't have her if we were in China, because it's one child policy. I would have been an only child.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. So to them, they think they absolutely made the right decision, even though their lives completely changed.
I'm sure your sister thinks they made the right decision.
Yeah, that's true.
She's like, thanks, Mum.
Yeah, thanks, Mum and Dad. So yeah, it's very, very nice. Yeah.
What do your parents think now when they look at the business and what you've done?
Look, I don't think they really know. Like, they just go, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, you're a lawyer.
You help people get over to the country.
Yeah,
you're
that's
doing such
it.
a great
I think
job.
that's all they know. Yeah. Oh, my daughter's a lawyer. That's it. My sister's a lawyer too. So both my daughters are lawyers.
My parents it's so funny. They just think I'm still I'm still their kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still their son.
Exactly. They just think, okay, you're right there.
Do you don't really post your parents in content and stuff, right?
I do a little bit.
Do they ever get recognised by people?
Well, yes, because my grandma she's passed away now, but my grandma's in a nursing home.
Right.
And my mum went there all the time, and I posted a few. And all of the nurses there were all, students that recognised my mum.
Right. My parents get it all the time. They're in Europe at the moment on this tour with a bunch of old people.
Okay.
And they were watching one of my videos the other day on the bus, and someone goes, "Oh my gosh, do you follow Jack Henderson?"
Oh, really?
And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're his parents." And they're like, lost it.
That is so good.
But I think that's when they start to realise, like, oh, maybe he's not just some real estate guy,
Yeah. And do they want to be in your videos, or?
No, not in the videos. Like I've asked mum and dad to do a podcast, I think, before, and they're like, nah, not for me. Because everyone thinks I come from like this rich family and they give me everything. So I'm like, I want to do a podcast with my parents. Or like actually for them to explain what.
Yeah, exactly.
What my upbringing
it's interesting,
was.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's very interesting. On that, why do you think that is? Like, I don't know if you get it. I get it a lot, but like as soon as you start to make a little bit of success, and I post about my success more than you probably post about your success. Do you get like they must have had a silver spoon, or like, you know, come from wealthy parents or whatever, or because you keep a low profile, you don't really?
I think maybe the immigrants
you
are
keep
different.
a low profile.
I do.
Yes, you do.
I think maybe with immigrants are different. Maybe because obviously my following's a lot of immigrants, so they kind of like understand, and then maybe they kind of do see that because they're like, okay, cool, that's my situation too. So that maybe
And they're inspired by it.
Yeah, inspired, and they can probably relate to it. So yeah, my parents are the same, you know. So I think maybe that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't get like the tall poppy syndrome thing, which again is like an Australian culture thing.
Yeah, I don't really get it. Yeah, I don't.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I get it a lot.
Yeah,
So
I've seen.
it's good. The comments are they're exceptional.
I love reading the comments. I love them.
It's so good. I love them because like the more comments, the better. Like Instagram just feeds it to more and more people.
Yeah, that's right. I've ended up on the wrong side of TikTok once. You know, someone reposted and they were just kind of like, this chick's bringing in all these people who are using up tax money.
That's what I was thinking. You know, like because
yeah.
you're essentially pro-immigration, which I am too. Like there's a lot of people that are not pro-immigration, right? So do you you don't get any of that sort of hate?
A couple of times, and then you just ignore it.
Did you go after him?
No.
Like, motherfuckers, I'll show you.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of like, you know, it was just saying, well, I had this file which we helped this child with autism get PR, parents or permanent residents, but we helped. And when you have a health issue, it's a big problem for immigration because it costs the healthcare system so much. And it was just saying, you know, this chick cost us $1 million in taxpayers' money and all of that stuff, you know. And then you had the people, and then maybe I got abusive comments in my DMs, but I never check my DMs, you know. Yeah. Do you check your DM?
Never.
Yeah, exactly. You just ignore
people
it.
think when they're DMing me, they're actually speaking to me. But it's my team.
Yeah, actually, my friend said that. He's like, oh, is this really Jack? I'm like, probably not. Sorry to burst your bubble.
It's hard now, like, because there's so many people, right? And my number's out there too. Is your number online? Do people call you personally?
No.
Fuck, I get that so much.
You put your number online?
No, well, because it's like been on the website in the past, for example, or like it's on my LinkedIn and shit like that. And then it's up there forever unless I change my number. I'm not changing my number. So I always have my phone now on Do Not Disturb, so no one can ever call me.
Right, okay, gotcha.
And then any number that I don't have saved, I screenshot and I send it to my team and they call first to make sure that...
Hopefully that fizzles out after a while. Yeah.
Potentially. Run me through the growth of your business.
Okay.
Because you started out, just you, immigration, working for a global firm, and then you started your own thing.
Yeah.
The business now is no longer that.
I'd say we're kind of global.
I don't think you're the one doing the sales calls and like doing all the applications and everything else that would be involved in it. So, so how's the business grown? And I guess what's your experience been with the business growth?
So when we first began, obviously it was just myself. And you do your consulting, you do your files, and you start hiring more lawyers and more other team members to help with other ends of the business. And obviously when it comes to law, a lot is on the line, and you know there's lots of regulations. You're heavily regulated as a lawyer as well. So I guess you have to hire different people to fill those roles and make sure nothing really falls through the cracks. So it was at the beginning it was actually really hard for me to hire people because no one wanted to work for me. They're like, who is this chick, you know? So it was hard for me to find good lawyers. So I was doing a lot of work myself, but then after a while you bring one on, and then slowly, you know, they tell their friends, you know, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of things you have to do. Like, I don't know, I'm sure people know it's not easy to run a business. But it is so hard. There's so many things you need to think about, and you never get to rest. And then you always, you know, you've got to do whatever it takes to, you know, to take to the next step or fix the problems. Because the bigger your business gets, the bigger your problems are.
That's right, and they always filter to the top.
Yeah, exactly. So I know I just started hiring more people, and we had to build systems and processes. You have good people at the beginning, but to really scale, you need to have the right systems and processes in place. And that's either through technology or through having the right people and building the right culture. And of course, I've never worked, I don't think I even worked in the business of this size before. And so then, you know, not being able to work not having that experience, and then you just have to you've got the challenge. You've got so many people that are relying on you, whether it's your employees or your clients, that you just have to figure it out, and you just get more and more courage to just, sort out the problems and move forward with them.
When you say you haven't worked in a business that size, even when you're an employee, the businesses you're in weren't the scale of your operation now?
No, I don't think so.
So it's not like you can look and go, oh yeah, well that's when they, that's how they did things. And do you have people around you? Because a lot of people, whether they're, starting their business or they're investing in property, whatever it is, they don't have people around them that have done it before, so they get lost, right? That's why they try and find people online to.
Yeah.
How have you learnt other than just doing?
And I don't know about you, but I've tried to reach out to mentors, but maybe because my area is very niche, no one can really help you. Only you can save yourself.
Yeah.
There's only so much advice that someone can give you, but truly, and I think this for myself, is truly you knew the answer all along. Maybe you need some validation.
Yeah.
But only you can fix it, and you had the answer really all along.
Yeah, most people know the answers to their own questions. They just don't want to do the work.
Yeah, that too, or they just don't want to face it as well. So that's what I found. I try to reach out to mentors. I thought that mentors would have the answer for you, but I don't think so. I think you do have the answer for yourself.
So you've just essentially grown by doing the doing and then learning and then making the adjustments. And that's as simple as that, huh?
Yeah, that's it. And that's what it is. It's a lot. It's like it's hard. It takes a lot of courage to do it.
Yeah.
But I guess the other thing is once you have done it once, your brain is kind of like, oh, I've done it. I can do it again.
And you build that self-confidence, right? It's like anything in life, like whether it's fitness and running or whatever it is that your fitness is, whether it's your business, whether it's becoming a parent, for example. The first time you do it, I'm assuming, is very daunting. The second time you do it, it's less daunting. You're like, oh, I remember this part.
Yeah, that's right. It's just, and I've just recently become a mum. So, and then trying to run a business and trying to scale a business and so many things happening at the same time. You've just got to multitask and figure it out.
And then you're doing other stuff outside of the business, right? Like you have bought property before. You have done lots of other things. How do you juggle all of the things, and how do you or know what to prioritize it at certain points in time?
I don't know if you even can just prioritize. I think when everything happens, and sometimes when it rains, it pours. And if it happens for you, like yesterday we had the baby, we're leaving the house, I had phone going off, and then I have my alarm thing, my automation thing, it stopped working. Like stopped working, I couldn't close the garage. And we're about to leave, we're late for the plane. And I was like, oh my goodness, when it rains, it pours. So, everything has to go around the time. You just got to calm down, take a breath and just be like, okay, cool, I'm going to tackle them one by one. And when you tackle them one by one, it actually doesn't take that long. Even though you think, oh, everything's crashing down, it's going to take me ages to fix. You just tackle them one by one.
Prioritize.
Yeah, that's right. Just everything goes wrong.
How's your life changed from being essentially an employee originally, a daughter of just two employees, to now running your own show, having an unlimited earning capacity, essentially?
Yeah. I think what I don't know what motivates you, but for me, what motivates me is being able to afford a lifestyle for the people around me, whether it is my family, my friends, or even my employees. Like, it's really important to me to be able to give them the career that they deserve. And in terms of my clients, I think it's really important, when it comes to law and migration stuff, there is a lot of things happening out there. Yeah. And so for them, it was really important for me to make sure that their application was correct and everything went well. Like no visa refusals or whatever it is. That's really important to me.
So that's what drives you? Just helping other people?
I think it gets to that point, right?
Yeah.
What drives you?
Helping other people, but there's intrinsic drivers, right? I think like you said, as you get to one level, it's like, well, how do I then get to that next level? Like, I'm someone who's internally very motivated to prove to myself that I can do certain things.
Yeah.
So when you talk to other business owners, I've just joined a group called YPO, and the other day I'm sitting there with people, and you ask, oh, so what do you do? And he's like, oh, I got a trucking business. I'm like, oh, yeah. End up doing the conversation for 20 minutes, and then find out this trucking business is not just like fucking two guys driving a truck. It's like a $400 million business per annum. And I'm just like when you hear those things, you're like, fuck, what does that guy or girl know that I don't, that's allowed them to get to that position, right? Because generally that's all it is. It's like a gap in knowledge or a gap in application that you're not doing that someone else is doing, and that's what has allowed them to.
Do you think that they actually know more than you, or what do you think it is?
Yeah, it's not knowing what you don't know, right? Because if I knew the things you need to do to grow a $100 million business, I'd have one. But I don't. And eventually you learn those things, and obviously there's an element of time and an element of luck and all the rest of it. But it's like that constant improvement is what drives me. And obviously because of that, if you hold yourself to a high standard, then the people around you just naturally benefit off the back of that, which is a good feeling.
Yes.
Because when your business grows and everything grows around you, the people have the ability to grow.
Yes, for sure.
But life's changed a lot, there's a lot more things that you have the ability to go and do. There's a lot of things that you don't have to do, obviously, when you make more and more money. So it's like it's an interesting paradigm. If you said before about when you make more money, like the designer stuff becomes less important to you, right?
Important, yeah.
Because
couldn't care.
The driver is like having. I think the reason people who have less money love that stuff is because it's like an aspiration. It's like it's a status symbol. But then when you know you can easily go to any of the shops and buy whatever you want, it's less important.
It is. And when I look at that, this Chanel bag came online. I was like, it's quite nice. And I went to Chanel and I saw the line. I was like, no, I'm not waiting in line for that. No way.
It's interesting.
This line is long.
But before you had the ability to have that stuff, that would have been super important to you.
Probably,
right?
yeah, probably.
It's very, very interesting.
And I hope through this journey, I can teach people that, that they, all these things, whether it's growth and things that matter and all the things that you can help friends and family with. I think that's a big motivation for me, for my followers. I hope they can aspire to it as well.
I think the interest, for me anyway, the thing is you need to go through it to know. Like it's easier to tell someone, hey, all that stuff, you always hear the money doesn't matter thing, or like it doesn't make you happy, which like you can hear that stuff and you're like, oh yeah, fuck, I'm sure it's easy for a rich guy to say or a rich guy to say. And then when you actually like have the ability to do certain things that you thought never possible, then you're like, oh, maybe it's not as important as I thought.
Is it not those things anyway, especially the the designer items.
What have you done outside of your business? Like we know each other through social and through the property world. When did you start to do stuff outside of the business?
I started very early. So this was way before that. As you know, I told you I started selling solar panels in my business when I was 19. So naturally my investing kind of, journey started when I bought my first property, I was 19.
Right. Yeah. And what was the reason for that? Was that because, again, your parents were like, hey, go and buy your own home? Or like, I know Chinese people love fucking property.
They love it. And I think my mum, maybe she didn't tell me to go buy my home, but that's all they talked about when they were young. It was just like, this person's got a property, that person's got a property. And back then it wasn't like, having investment properties. It was just having your principal place. Yeah. So I was in a rush to get my principal place because that is all they spoke about. And I was like, I really want to, achieve that because that's what you know. And so that's why I was like, straight away when I was 19, I bought this place in Adelaide. I actually still have it today. I bought this place and when I bought the place, I thought we'd be living in it forever.
Like, Mum and Dad, you happy? Look at this.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Whereabouts in Adelaide was it?
Woodville Gardens.
Where is that?
West.
Right.
Yeah, northwest.
Right.
Northwest. So back then, look, I bought the place for like $380,000.
So sort of by the coast.
No. What area do you know? It's more close to north. What areas do you know?
I know the inner ring of Adelaide.
It's inner.
Right, okay.
It's inner. It's about 8 kilometres away from the city.
Oh, okay, so it's right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, so that time this area is called like Westwood. It's kind of growing. I think it's more grown now because obviously Adelaide property is booming at the moment. So, and for me, because I am Chinese and that's all my parents spoke about, I liked property because I thought, that's all I knew. Yeah. That's actually all I knew, is their dream, So they're living their dream through me. Yeah. Yeah.
So like Traci's not only an immigration lawyer, she also loves property.
Yeah.
They've trained you well, huh? They've brought you up well.
Chinese, yeah.
And you don't talk about a lot of that stuff much, which, like, why is that? Why don't you talk about stuff outside of the immigration stuff?
I just don't know for me, I have a following and I know what they want and I'm here to, give them content so that they learn. Because at the moment, a lot of immigrants, when they come to Australia, they just want to get their PR. So I'm here to serve them. 100%. Like all my clients, like as soon as they get PR, they email me like, maybe a couple months later and they're like, I bought a property, They love property as well. Yeah. Property's big for them. That's like their dream, to get the job and then the property.
To get a PR, get a job, then get
the property. Yeah, I guess that's what it's like overseas for them as well. Big. I definitely think
big
so.
Driver.
Yeah, big driver. They want the property, and that's why, because a lot of when it comes to permanent residency, you get your invitation, then you wait for it to be processed, or you lodge your visa, and then you wait for it to be processed. And a lot of them, and a lot of my lawyers that maybe grew up here, they don't understand this. They're like, they're following every day. They're following up every day. They're like, how come my PR hasn't been granted yet? What's taking so long and stuff? And to them, they're kind of thinking, but you're going to get it. What's the rush? But the rush to them is buying property. Yeah, they want to get that property as soon as possible.
Because before someone is a PR in Australia, like you're very restricted with what you can and can't do. Yeah. And I guess your future is uncertain, right? Because you don't know whether you are going to be in Australia long term or you're going to have to go back to where you come from.
That's true. And when you're on temporary resident, and I guess a lot of people, well, though I had clients before that did do this, but the stamps and the taxes that you pay are huge. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, but I had some very well-off clients from China that were students and they were buying property in Turek.
There's so many people that don't understand this. Like I've spoken about it before on podcasts where people go, the reason property prices are so expensive is because of immigrants. You know, if we didn't have so many immigrants in the country, property wouldn't be so expensive. Yet they lack the context of how much it costs to buy a property if you are not a permanent resident in Australia. Like, it's an 8% surcharge on stamp duty. You've got the Foreign Investment Review Board. You've got the Foreign Investment Review fees. Then you get no land tax threshold, so you're paying land tax on $0. Like, it's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And immigrants, when they aren't PRs, are not buying...
They're not. They're
normal,
absolutely not.
or if they are buying property, they're generally premium properties.
Yeah, they're the ones in Ture, which
they're
is
not
not
buying
what most
properties that the everyday punter is buying.
No,
you know?
100%. They're not. They're always waiting for their permanent residency to be granted, and then they buy the property.
And they work fucking hard.
Yeah, they do.
Like, because they're so grateful. This is my experience. They're so grateful to be in Australia. Like, they're not just sitting around on the dole going fucking.
No, they want to. You know, they've already made it so far. And so, you know, one of the things that I love is that you didn't come this far to just come this far.
Literally.
So, you know, for them, they're like, okay, cool, what's the next goal? What's the next goal? And I love to see it. Yeah.
What do you do around mindset? Like, because business is hard. There's lots of shit that goes right, lots of shit that goes wrong. Even sometimes with everything is going right from a metrics point of view, the P&L looks good, you know, you're doing more business than ever. You can still be unhappy because things are not going right in other areas of your life where you're stressed about certain things.
Right.
I face that shit every day.
Do you?
Constantly, yeah.
No, okay.
Because I'm doing so much all the time, right? So, like, even though something might be going really well here, there's so many other things that can be not going so well, which 100%. Then, like, puts a dampener on.
And pull your hair out.
Yeah.
No, I think for me, I am just so grateful. That's just another thing. No matter what happens, like when my son is screaming, like last night, it's the first time coming to Sydney for a while, and we booked toddies, and I was so excited. And then we're bookings at 7:30, he just wouldn't stop crying. And then I called Toddy's and I'm like, I can't come. I have a screaming baby. And then the lady was like, say no more. You know, but then that's going on. That I'm so grateful that I was able to have, you know, a beautiful, healthy child. You know, just you got to think about all the things that you got to be grateful for.
But do you do that like actively during times where you shouldn't be grateful? Like it's hard. I'm assuming. I don't have a kid, but I'm assuming when they're screaming, you're like, why the fuck won't you shut up?
Yeah.
You know, like
But
it's very hard to go, I'm so grateful for this healthy baby during that time.
No, that's the way you have to do it. Like even when it comes to like things with business, I'm so grateful, you know, when things, not everything's smooth sailing, but I'm so grateful I have such a great team that are ready to be like, okay, just say the word, you know, we'll do it. You know, you got to be grateful for those things and everything else in life, you know, just as simple as being able to just I can call an Uber whenever I want, you know. Yeah. I'm so grateful for all the little things, and I think that's one of the things that's most important. Just be grateful.
You keep it very simple, huh?
That's it.
Maybe I just need to be more grateful.
Just be more grateful. Things about how rich your life actually is, not the money. You know, how rich your life is with the people around you, all the things, all the time that you can buy back.
I do think about those things, but then something fucks up. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. I didn't get better at that. Yeah. So yesterday, for example, we're having a biggest ever month in our business's history. And everything's going amazing. But yesterday, I had something that was completely separate from this business. I'm buying another business. And I just felt like these people weren't fucking hearing what I was saying. And for the last 2 days, I've been dealing with the issues. And it was like just wrecks everything else. I'm like, this fucking deal is so painful.
100%.
And I'm just like, I can't be grateful about that.
No, you gotta be grateful because then you think, okay. But the other thing I think is like, okay, cool, this is a test. This is a test for, you know, whether I'm worthy. You know, I've had things go wrong and then like my son was sick or something. Something went wrong in my business. My son was sick. I had to take him to ED or something at the same time. But I'm like, this is a test. And then you'll come out on the other side. You're like, okay, it was a test.
I do that very often. I'm like, you say you want all of this stuff.
Yeah, this is the test.
But this is the test to see how bad you really do want it.
Yeah.
Just before we finish off, social media, I use it to my advantage and the company's advantage. You use it to your business's advantage. For someone who's maybe starting out their own business or experienced in business but hasn't been using social, or maybe they're fucking an employee and they want to just build their own brand. How would you start again today? Because when you started TikTok, like TikTok was very different. The algorithm is different compared to what it is now. You gained followers much faster. It was the same when I started. How would you start right now to start building a brand that would eventually generate leads and make you money?
Yeah, I think first of all, you just got to be authentic. You got to find, okay, what can I be authentic about and be able to create content on it. And you just got to keep pushing every single day. Even if your video gets like 2 views, you're going to be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to come back again. Because we all started like that. Because
your videos are not like, you don't have a media team like this. Like you're not having people edit your videos.
No.
You literally set up your iPhone like this and you sometimes you're dressed up and done makeup. Sometimes you literally just look like you've jumped out of bed, right?
Yeah.
But you do videos and you talk about
Whatever
that
it
doesn't
is.
interest many people.
Yeah.
Immigration.
Yeah,
Right? It's like,
yeah.
let me tell you about what's the new visa. Tell me a visa number. What's a visa number?
189.
The 189 visa. I said 289 before, you see?
I think they said 467.
And then, and then you talk about that.
Yeah.
And like, it's not sexy. It's not like, there's no beautiful editing or anything like that. But like it goes to the people that find that information valuable, and they get hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah. But that's another thing. Like sometimes Albanese will come up and drop a visa bombshell or something like that, and I've just woken up and I'm just like, but it's more important that I produce the content rather than putting my face on before I do it.
Because no one cares.
No,
like,
they
no
just
one
want to know about
actually
content.
cares about what you look like, right?
Yeah. I mean,
all they care about is what you say.
Exactly. And I knew that was more important to my followers. So I think in that sense, you got to put your followers first as well. They wanted to know at that moment, and they wanted to, because they might drop the bomb, but what does it actually mean? So I come out straight away, and like sometimes I have not done nothing. I just woken up, I didn't brush my teeth, and I'm just like explaining what that exactly means. And that's what's important.
And it's raw. What we find is like we've got the media guys, we produce a lot of content, but we can spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort on pieces of content, and then you do one video on your phone that's produced from an iPhone with none of the editing, and it can do exceptionally well, and most of the time better than edited videos.
100%.
So for people who don't have the resources, like that's all you need is a phone.
No, absolutely. You don't need your phone. You don't even need lighting. Just get in front of a window or something and just talk to the camera. And obviously you want to be an expert at what you talk about, so just find your niche and you will find your followers, because there's all sorts of people out there.
It's so true. And for people who maybe aren't in a niche like you, which is immigration law, and I don't fucking know, what do people want to talk about these days? Anything, right? Like,
lifestyle.
You're an expert in your own life.
Yes.
That's what a lot of people don't realise.
Yeah.
It's like your own life experiences are your expertise.
Yeah.
Talk about your own life experiences. What has happened right and wrong in your own life.
And your own stories are authentic and original, so don't be afraid to, talk about it. That's it. That's
how important is social to your business?
Oh, very important. People wouldn't know about us if it wasn't for the socials.
And it's free.
Yes, that's the other thing, Like, we don't spend any money on marketing. We've never spent money on marketing.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How many calls, like, to give us some context? You post a video, like, how many calls do you get organically through your social media?
At our peak, we were getting 300 a day,
300 calls a day.
Just couldn't, got messages going off and then the phone's going off. I think I've got like 7 reception team at the moment, and they're just on and off phone calls because there's just so much happening, and people want to know straight away. Otherwise, 300 DMs, it's
crazy. And it's free.
It's free.
That's what I try and tell people all the time. It's like without social, without like content, which is fucking free to produce, you don't have a business.
No, that's right. You have to use socials. You have to get on there and then just give your information away.
And you've done it from you started in 2020.
I've done it for.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like you've been around for 20 years and you come from a family of immigration lawyers. Like, no one knew who you were 5 years ago.
No, that's right.
You're some random chick from Adelaide in Woodville. What was the suburb?
Woodville Gardens. Absolutely. And people, people come to us now. Like, I really think that when they hear about something, that hold on, let me go check Traci's page to verify this information.
That it's real. And the other thing is, I'm assuming most immigration law firms are just that, a law firm. There's not like a face to them.
Yes,
Would that be right?
Yeah, no, I'd say that.
Where most people would know Traci Chen, probably not the name of your law firm until they start working with you, which is very, very different, right? Because they have that attachment.
Yes, correct. And I think they've already understood me, they know me, and so when they come to me, they're like, they're ready to go.
Yeah. And it's very hard to build trust like that through a company name. Like founder-led companies are very, very big.
For sure.
Traci Chen, closing words?
No, you didn't come this far to just come this far.
There we go. The best closing words. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is general advice and does not take into consideration your objectives, situation, or needs. You should consider if this advice is suitable to you or your circumstances, and please read any applicable PDFs beforehand. This is a Henderson podcast production.